Welcome to Legal Marketing Happy Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to an all-new episode of Legal Marketing Happy Hour with Colby Owens. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Colby here is a local SEO strategist at Above the Bar Marketing, and they help law firms win the map pack with smart, measurable local search tactics. And in today's episode, we're talking about how attorneys can dominate local search with Google Business Profile, local citations, geo-targeted strategies that bring in qualified clients. So Colby, let me ask you here at the onset. First off, good to see you. For a law firm just getting started with local SEO, what are some of the key elements that Google looks for when they're ranking businesses locally?
Thanks for having me, Mike. And great first question. It's definitely something that I get very often. If it's not from the law firms, it's from our internal team wanting to know the best way to answer these questions for law firms. But in general, for local SEO and for lawyers, it's very similar to just if it's any type of industry out there. But there are some key elements that are specific to lawyers. So to start out, and I'm sure many people can guess it, but it's essentially just the reviews on the Google Business Profile. So we know that Google, if someone's wanting to find an answer, they're most likely going to go to Google. We'll see maybe 5 years down the road, they're maybe going to ChatGPT a little bit more. But for right now, they're still going to Google. And those reviews are the biggest ranking factor for a Google Business Profile for visibility in your market. So having those reviews is really the biggest thing. But obviously, there's law firms, like you said. For this question, let's say that it's a brand new law firm starting out, and they have to create a Google Business Profile. They have to create a website. So obviously, you're not going to be able to create a Google Business Profile and end up with 100 reviews within the next few weeks. If we're starting from blank, you want to get your website fully built out for local, and that's practice area pages, location-based pages. And you want to link those to your Google Business Profile's product section. So within the Google Business Profile, there's lots of elements to it. The product section is one of them. And for us, we use the product section to display the type of services that our clients, these law firms, offer. What we do is, so for example, it would be like a car accident attorney would be a product. And then we would build out a page on their website for that product with a location on it. So for example, car accident attorney, St. Louis. Now, what you would do is you would take the product section, you would create that product as a car accident attorney. You wouldn't add the location in the product, but you would link the location page to that product. So then Google can see this is a law firm that does car accident attorneys. They want those type of cases, and they're practicing in St. Louis. Now, we'll get into it. There's lots of other elements. Obviously, your primary category is essential. And if you're doing just one type of practice area, I would list that as your primary category. But you may be doing 4 different types of practice areas. You might do personal injury, criminal law. And for those cases, if you want it to essentially weighted evenly on the lead, so if you don't prefer a personal injury or criminal law case, you see them weighted evenly, list your primary category as just law firm. And then in the additional categories, that's where you'll put your practice area services. So essentially, you build out the Google Business Profile, you build out those practice area pages that have the location on them. You link those to your Google Business Profile, and then I would obviously suggest just making sure that you have your categories correct in the Google Business Profile. I'm going to probably say Google Business Profile over 150 times this podcast, so I apologize. Yeah. But that would be kind of the main things that I would start with. Obviously, the About section, don't use AI. Just write something that you think your law firm stands for. Add the practice areas in there. Add the location. Keep it simple. Don't try and keyword stuff it in there. Google has dealt with keyword stuffing for a long time, and they know how to handle that. So try to stay away from the AI-generated stuff. If you have to use it, it's not a terrible thing. AI can produce really good content, but Google appreciates handwritten stuff a lot more than AI generated. So that's where I'd start out.
Yeah, it's good tips for folks that are starting out in terms of the impact for your visibility. So I want to ask you then, how frequently should a law firm, in your estimation, like update their profile, photos, posts, QA entries? You mentioned about the reviews and how important that is, but how often should they be updating their profile to make sure it keeps performing well?
How I look at it, um, taking a step back, Google doesn't want people to game the system. SEOs know this. Law firms maybe don't, but I try and make it look as organic, as natural as possible. So, for how often you want these posts to come up, these Q and A's to come up on your Google Business Profile, one for the Q and A's, and I've seen a lot of people try and do this. I've seen some people had success with it, and then their Google Business Profile gets suspended. But don't go in there and write your own questions for your Q and A's, and then go in and respond to them. That should be all natural. It shouldn't be something that you're trying to keyword stuff. How much does a personal injury lawyer cost as a question on your Google Business Profile, and then you go in and respond to it. Um, I've seen a lot of Google Business Profiles just in the industry get suspended because of this type of stuff, or not get suspended. And sometimes people would say that this is worse, but it's essentially, you could say, shadow banned, at least a big drop in rankings, because Google sees that you're trying to game the system, you're trying to keyword stuff, you're trying to keyword stuff right in there. And they don't like that. They want it to be natural. So for the Q&A part, leave that up to your clients, leave that up to the users on Google. If you don't get a question, that's fine. It's a lot better than going in there and doing it manually. Google can read IP addresses. They'll see that you're going in and doing it manually yourself, and they'll either suspend you or they'll knock you down in the rankings. So your visibility will go down. Now, for updates, like I said, I like it to be natural. But for the update section, that's something that the firm or your marketing team actually has control over. And I say, why not post every single blog that you're coming out on, that you're posting on your website? Put it in your updates section.
So let me ask you, because you we just talked about reviews and the role that they play in search visibility. I get this all the time. You go to a business and then you get some good service and they go, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you leave a review on the page?" For lawyers, what's the best way for them to ask for reviews? How, and on the flip side, how should they respond to negative ones?
Yeah, great question. So, like I said a little bit previously, you don't want to fully game the system, but this is a part of the system that Google is okay with you gaming. And when I say that, I just mean having a really simple and clear process that's easy for the client to go in and leave a review. So I would just recommend whatever you think as a law firm is the easiest way to actually get these clients of yours to leave reviews, do it. A lot of that is just having an iPad right there where they can go in, sign into their Google account, and be directly directed to the Google Business Profile to go in and leave a review. Now, you can also leave a QR code, just have business cards with QR codes, but I have seen that work well. But most of the time, just having the iPad there when when you have your last meeting with your client, and obviously you want to ask the clients that you think would leave good reviews, not the negative ones. So if you want a case for a client, or the client is just really happy with how well you worked with them, have an iPad right there ready to go so they can just sign into their Google email, their Gmail account, and then instantly just leave a 5-star review. The longer the better. And something that I would strongly encourage is have them add their type of, they don't need to get into the granular of what their case was, but just have them add the practice area into that review. So, like, he helped me out with a personal injury case. Google will look at that keyword in the review, and it will show you for personal injury cases more often. The more reviews you get with those keywords in them, the more visibility you will get for those keywords. You just want to seem personable, I would say. And there isn't a whole, I would say, SEO tactic for responding to negative reviews. This is more of a front facing, the clients are going to see it. So respond to those. First off, respond to every negative review. When a law firm comes to me and is asked how they should respond to them, I just say to be personable and try and represent what you think your firm should be represented like online. So if you are maybe a very I'm out in Denver right now, and there's the Strong Arm. He's the biggest law firm out here. If you want to respond and kind of keep that strong arm presence, do it, but remain personable and ask questions at the end of that negative review of how you could have done better, or apologizing for maybe how they felt.
So, Kobe, I want to get a little more into the weeds here. Why is it important to have consistent business info across all of these directories? And for these law firms, which legal specific directories should they be prioritizing?
The big factor with NAP consistency, and when I say that, name, address, phone number across the web. And I also like to add website in there, because who is not checking to make sure that the correct website is listed on the directory? So NAP W, name, address, phone number, website. You want to make sure that this is accurate across the whole entire web. It's very hard to do because there could be profiles that essentially you might not have access to. And maybe the website isn't even managed anymore. So it's going to be really tough to get that information taken down. But you want to do it as much as you can. Most of these websites are monitored. Most of them you will get a response for. But to answer your question on why this is important, it's because Google looks throughout the whole web. They're scraping a ton of web pages, and they want to show results for people's questions that they fully trust, and Google fully believes that this is the correct answer, and they trust that this is the phone number, this is the address, this is the law firm's name, and this is their website. But Google will essentially knock you down in visibility if your information across the web is all spewed around. So if it's incorrect and not consistent throughout all the directories, Google thinks that it might not be correct that this phone number is linked to this law firm. So why should Google show your law firm over another one if they're not confident that they're showing contact information to this client that's doing a search that it may not even be the correct contact information, and the client will then go and have to do another search again. So Google, they're trying to minimize these searches. They want to answer the user's question as quickly as possible. You want Google to trust the information that is on your Google business profile. That is how people will find you on Google. And if Google sees that on all these other directories like Law Info, Abogado, if they see that it's different than what your Google business profile is showing, they're not going to trust you enough to show it. They're going to show another law firm that's in the area that does have consistent NAP information, so that when the user is displayed that information and they make the call, they will for sure reach the law firm, and they won't have to do another search again.
Speaking of searches, you always get the near me for businesses, right? When you type in something, what's the best way you would recommend for law firms to build that, either that city or that practice area page, so that it shows up in the near me searches, while also, kind of providing unique content, let's say.
Yeah, instead of just the traditional
Right.
practice area plus location, and then it's a description of that could be AI generated that's on a million other law firms' websites. That's a great question. And I would start with the Google business profile. Um, that's what Google will most likely look at first. And one thing that you can do for these service areas, very specific locations, you can go into these services of the Google business profile, and you can add your practice area plus the location in the service itself. So you kind of get a jump start on these other law firms that are not currently doing that, where maybe they just have their service description, or they just have their service, the practice area. And then it's a very basic description of that practice area, which is essentially like a Webster's definition pulled into their Google business profile. So I would start with the services section. Um, And if you are really wanting to fully target one location, add those in your services. Now, if you're wanting to target multiple locations, like if you're not wanting just to target, if you're not in a big city like St. Louis and you want to show up for a lot of smaller locations, I would not recommend doing that. Only add it into your services. And when I add the location into your services, if you are wanting to kind of throw all your eggs in one basket at this one city. So that is something that I'm seeing that law firms are not doing right now, and mostly a lot of people aren't doing right now, and it can give you a little bump over the competition. But like I said, the downside to it is you're kind of throwing all of your eggs in one basket. So I would only recommend that for law firms that are in very big metros that you can just target one city and you'll have enough volume there.
All right. So you mentioned competitors. We know we're talking about law firms. I'm curious about what action a law firm can take if they see their competitor is using some of these deceptive practices, and you can kind of explain what some of them are, like keyword stuffing. What actions can law firm take if they see a competitor doing something like this, where it's kind of boosting their competitors by creating fake listings, et cetera?
I wish I had kind of a very detailed answer for this, but simply just go in and report it. What I personally would do is that Google has a separate form just for this type of report. Go in and report it. Within the past year, Google has become a lot more strict on Google business profiles. They've been suspending a lot more just because of your question right here. There's a lot of inaccuracies out there. There's a lot of spam. There's a lot of fake Google business profiles. So within the last year, I've seen a lot of Google business profiles get suspended, and they were not fake. Luckily, all you have to do is just do a verification with the law firm. But I'm saying this because I trust if I find a fake Google business profile out there, I trust that they're looking for those now. 4 years ago, they didn't care too much about them. Now it's a very big priority of theirs. So I would trust that reporting form that if you found a spam one, you know that it is spam, go use that form that Google provides, report it, and even the downside of it is that you could report Google business profiles that are not spam, and I would expect for them to get suspended, and then that law firm would have to go in and do a verification. So um, I'm not hesitant on the fact that Google is going to go in and trust you that this is spam. It's essentially they're just going to go in and double check and make sure that if this Google business profile was reported, they're going to go in, suspend it. It could still show live for the next like 14 days or so, but essentially Google is quick to suspend profiles now and double check and make sure that they are correct. So use that form that Google provides. And same thing with reviews. If you see duplicate reviews on a lot of different directories like Yelp, Facebook, and Google all have the same review, you can report that to Google. And they should. I've seen some taken down because of that.
Colby, let's land the plane here on this. What are the most important metrics in your experience that will help a law firm in terms of showing that this local SEO is actually working?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you asked me this like 5 years ago, I would say you could just look at the Google Business Profile metrics right there and see if the line is going up or if it's going down, if the calls are going up, if it's going down. And that's still a tried and true method, of course, just looking at the real numbers right from Google. But with working with law firms, it's not just about how many calls, how much website traffic they get. It's about how many qualified calls and how many qualified web uh, users they get on their website. So honestly, you can look at metrics and it could look great, but from the firm's perspective, from your client, maybe they're going down in revenue. So the best thing to do if you think that a law firm is increasing or you're doing very well on the local side for them or not doing great at all on the local side for them, talk to them and figure out what is going on their end. They're going to have a lot more of that information than just looking at numbers. Because, like I said, even if you could get a law firm as many calls as they want, it depends on the law firm, of course, but there's a lot out there that they won't be happy unless they're qualified calls.
Right.
So I would say just go and meet with the law firm and see what they're saying. See if they're from their side they've felt an impact, and if they've felt an impact on qualified leads as well, not just total leads. And lastly, add to that, obviously these lawyers are very busy. You're not going to be able to meet with them all the time. So if you're looking at it just from what can I do without talking to a law firm, how can I measure the success of the local side? Look at citation growth, look at domain growth, domain rating growth, and then also grid maps. Find a software out there that does grid maps for you. That is fantastic. That will give you real rankings to specific locations. So you can plug in to the software, personal injury attorney near me. You can link it up with their Google Business Profile, and that software will show you a grid map, which you can choose wherever in the United States you want to see where they're showing up for these search results. Clients love this just because, and I love it too, just because it shows that some areas, maybe on the west side of the city, you're improving, but on the east side, you're not improving. So there's a lot more to the story than just the traffic went up, the traffic went down, there's more calls, there's less calls. There could be an increase in some areas and a decrease in some areas. And you want to target, obviously, you want to target the areas that the law firm, your client, wants to reach. So I would start with grid maps. I would start with just looking at the calls. But at the end of the day, talk to the law firm, see what they're saying, and see if they've felt an impact on their side. And I can tell you for sure that the law firms, they do love the grid maps just because it's a timeline of how they're doing in specific areas for specific searches.
Right. Colby, thanks for the time and insights on this. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thank you to everybody out there for listening to today's episode of Legal Marketing Happy Hour. If your firm wants help in improving its Google business profile and winning more local searches, do me a favor, visit abovethebarmarketing.com to connect with Colby and the team. Don't forget to like, review, leave us a comment, subscribe, share this episode with somebody who needs it. As always, I'm Mike Leon. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.